I was still following the off season from my manager perspective, and holy moly, man! Like, I hope one day someone can write a book about those stuff, like when everything is off NDA and stuff, and it's mind blowing, really, really exciting.
Hello everyone, this is Darius from the Shotcaller, joined here, finally, after more than a year, the reunion with Romain Bigère. How do you do?
I'm doing really well. That's actually exactly a year. So many stuff happened in 1 year, man. I had like 16 lives. You too, probably, so it's great.
Yeah, you joined Optic in America, and then now have joined Riot Games in Europe, so you've come back to the motherland. What was kind of like the decision making behind that move coming back to Europe?
So the off season went a bit crazy. I landed back in Europe, still as a member of Optic. Then a lot of stuff happened. I ended up back on the market. I had a lot of really good offer. The two best ones were probably between Europe and China, and the Riot offer was really, really exciting. So I took it, obviously.
So, like, what were you gonna do in China in particular? Because I mean, that sounds like a huge difference to what you're doing now and what you did before.
Not so much. So the potential Chinese plan was to work with the team RNG in the international development. But part of the team, and in Europe, there was the Riot opportunity still for business development. So both jobs were something around using my 5 last year in the video game industry, from sponsors to how to set up marketing for a team and stuff like that. And yeah, but the Riot one at the end of the day was first home, so which is definitely something interesting. And the team I'm going to work with, like the boss I have and the colleague I have, are so incredible that there was a bit of a no-brainer. Like, the deeper I was diving into it, the more I was like, okay, I have so much to learn, and 2019 is going to be so exciting because of LEC. So it's like everything, all the stars are aligned right now. Even a lot of the thing I was wishing we would get from Riot in 2015 and 16 when I was still a Unicorn Tough Love member, those stuff were not available because it takes time to build them, and now everything is there. Everything is there. I can be on the side of Riot to help pushing them. We have a new league, kind of. We have 10 really sexy teams. It's incredible. Like, everything is aligned.
Everything is there. Huge potential, amazing stuff. And of course, 2018 was a great year for Europe in general. So we're going into 2019 with a lot of momentum in that regard. So you are going to be on the business development side at Riot. What exactly does that encompass, and what can people expect from you?
So 2018 was already an interesting year from a business development in Europe. So once again, my boss Alban did a really good stuff of around analyzing our current market and what is possible to sell for Riot. You have now a real will from the Riot side to monetize the league, to create a healthy ecosystem generating money, so you can give a bit of this money to the teams, and you can use this money to create an even better esports ecosystem. So it takes a lot of time to understand that. So that was 2018, and now we have a full team to basically sell it, but sell it in a clever way, finding the best sponsors, the best way to activate those sponsors, how you can create a good connection and relationship between those sponsors, the team and Riot, and even lower level in Europe, so the regional leagues and the broadcast partner and stuff like that. So it's thinking and making sure this whole financial ecosystem works, actually.
So in the past, obviously, this is a very hotly debated topic in regards to the LEC, not ELCS. I'm still trying to make the switch in my head in terms of like how to get sponsors, how to get partners integrated into the league, given that it's a European league and that's very hard to market or find partners for. Regional leagues like the Spanish one, for example, have been very successful in finding sponsors and the teams as well. But the overall European level has been challenged by that. Is there anything going to be significantly different that you can already tell us in that regard?
We're going to have a lot of sponsors coming in for 2019, which is an awesome news. Why not before? I think it first takes time to understand your own offer, and it also takes time to educate the sponsors. And now we have been 4 or 5 years probably in the process, working with agencies and stuff like that. And now people finally realize it's interesting to inject money into esports, and you can get an interesting return on investment. So like if you were 2-3 years ago and you have a couple of millions to inject in a team, or even in the LCS, LCS, maybe you're not going to get as much return on investment as possible because we were not able to activate that. But now then, we know our own product better and the sponsors know how to activate better. Everything is going to be way better at the end of the day. It's like if I give you $500,000 to sponsor and then I'm not going to inject more money, I'm just expecting you to do all the job, the activation at the end of the day is not going to be that interesting. But if I give you 300K and I keep 200K to create my own activation, then it starts to be better. So this kind of evolution into sponsoring is changing everything, kind of. Esport is getting more and more interesting to inject money in. So,
and I mean that's not just for League of Legends. Other titles as well have been evolving in that regard, and I'm happy to see that Riot are now more focusing on that end as well. How big is like the business develop team in Europe, at least right now?
So for now we are 3. So my boss Alban, me below it. My job will be to be a bit more focused on teams, make sure we have a really good relationship with them, and we communicate as often as possible with them. And the third guy is called Nicolas, and he's more. His job is more to activate the sponsors. So you have the big boss, you have one guy dealing with the sponsors, and me more dealing with the teams. And the 3 of us, we have to connect inside Riot with every other department, because as soon as you get the money, that's just the first step from the sponsors. Then you need to make sure your sponsor is happy. So you have to make sure the whole Riot ecosystem is going to be helpful and able to help these new people getting in.
In that regard, are you happy that we have a permanent partnership system? After all, given that now it's at least I would expect a lot easier for you to work with teams, given that everyone's pulling in the same direction of wanting the league in total to succeed?
I mean, having a franchise model makes the 10 teams...
No, it's a permanent partnership. That's very important.
At the end of the day, we're going to have the same people sitting around the table for at least 2-3 years, and it definitely changes everything. In the way you communicate, in the way you interact, in the truth/honesty you can have with the teams, it's way better. It's also way better because we know our offer better. So like we had a first meeting last week, and that was incredible. I've been sitting in a lot of owners meeting over the last 5-6 years on now both sides, on the team side and now on the Riot side. That's the best meeting I ever had, because people were actually genuinely thinking ahead, thinking forward, and everyone wants LEC to succeed. And that's going to be nice. That's going to be really nice.
It's going to be very helpful. Are there any things that we can kind of expect from Riot Games, not just helping with like sponsorships and properly activating them, but also stuff like in-game related things? So for example, Overwatch League of course has skins for every franchise team. We've seen before the icons, but a lot of players always felt like, hey, there's something lacking there. Could you like make chroma skins or something like that? Is there anything on the line in that regard that you can tease?
We obviously have a lot of ideas, and we're going to try to push as many way possible to create content for teams, for the games, for everything. So I cannot really say anything, but of course those are ideas we have in mind.
Okay, fair enough. What are your thoughts on like the 4 new teams joining it? Well, I mean technically 5, but it depends on how you look at it, you know.
Really, really exciting. I met with all of them, and yeah, it's a lot of passion, and that's a passion we're gonna be able to work with over the last 2-3 years. So it's extremely exciting, and there's hope now. Once again, what do I mean by that? It's before this specific World Championship, from a player perspective, the best you could do was to lose in semi-final versus a Korean team. So it's a bit limited for competitors, right? Because when you start as a pro players, you're only going to be happy the day you win everything. The day you end the game, kind of. You reach the final destination, you win, and no one else can defeat you. This specific feeling was not accessible, was not available for any Western players. And now with Fnatic getting to the final, of course they lost, but now the hope is there. You can start the season in January in Europe, in NA or anywhere, and hope to maybe get to the final and maybe win, which was a feeling gone for so long. I mean, not even gone, that this feeling never existed. So Fnatic gave hope again, and having those new teams on top of the old teams and the rosters, man. The rosters are incredible. So yeah, really, really exciting.
I mean, you're technically a part of Riot, but can we get any predictions on who's going to win Spring Split?
I honestly don't know, because there's so many question marks on so many things. What's sure is at least 6 teams are like extremely stacked in terms of roster. I was still following the off season from my manager perspective, and holy moly, man! Like, I hope one day someone can write a book about those stuff, like when everything is off NDA and stuff, and it's mind-blowing, really, really exciting.
About like how the transfers happen behind and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, everything. Like, and off-season is always crazy because you have so much work before the free agency starts, and then you have so many, you need to stay next to your phone all the time because like a full deal can be done in half an hour. Not full stuff, but everything changes from salary to when can I start to the contract details to, oh my God, I forgot this specific paper and stuff. So yeah. Maybe one day we can have round table with all the owners. Nah, they would probably kill each other at the end of the day because I mean it's part of the business actually.
Yeah, it would be very fun though, and like from my perspective, it's just the same thing. It's just like having Twitter notifications for each team when the official announcement goes live. So like my article goes live that second, and it's got him. But a lot of people are of course very excited for you as a person to come back because a lot of people know you. You know the former Unicorns of Love manager. Most of the stuff you find about you on the internet is still related to that team, of course. We're going to talk about that in a second. But you were always a great stage persona and involved at MSI, and you know since 2017 finals essentially. So now you also tease that you'll be like involved in the broadcast at some parts. Can we like get some hints, some teases there? What's going to be happening there?
I don't want to tease too much because we're still discussing it with Monsieur Quickshot. What's sure is I will not be like all the time there. I will actually be only a couple of times, and we have to make it interesting. What's sure is I'm going to be on stage for the different road shows, at least before the show starts. The same kind of stuff I did at MSI or during the finals or in Auckland, for example, in NA, just to talk to the crowd and tell stories and make sure everyone is 100 degrees before the show starts. Yeah, that's going to be really fun. I mean, I'm discovering so much stuff right now, getting on the other side of the mirror, like how everything is scheduled and prepared and set up, and it's fascinating, definitely. So yeah, stepping a bit on the broadcast sides of things, we're gonna go really, really gently because it's a really well-oiled
machine.
Yeah, machine. Yeah. So we have to be careful with everything.
That's of course very fair. One little suggestion I have. So you're obviously known to be half naked a lot when you go on stage and stuff. Maybe if you can motivate other parts of the broadcast one day, have like a reverse time. So you come on stage and you're like in full clothes and you're like, hey everyone, I finally dressed up in a proper suit. And then they all are like half naked and it's like, come on, what the hell?
I like the idea. I'm not sure they're gonna follow on that, but
maybe I'm just gonna throw it out there. I mean, we've seen stuff like crazy stats from Quickshot and Adventures of Medivetti and all that kind of stuff. So what is like your perfect LEC 2019 season looking like from your perspective?
Really, really stacked games, really nice sponsor announcement, really nice sponsors coming on top, awesome road shows. Yeah. I'm thinking right now, what am I allowed to say or what am I not?
We know that Worlds is coming to Europe this year, so...
Yes, we know Worlds is coming to Europe this year. We know the finals going to be in France. This is going to be absolutely incredible to have first this event in Europe. The year we have LEC, like it's incredible for everything because we have in Europe this really specific ecosystem where the teams have right below them the European regional leagues and the European Masters, and you have even below that the high school system. So we have a full pyramid of how to become a pro player, which is something lacking a bit, for example, in North America, where you have the teams and right below it you have the high school system and the kind of challenger / academy league is right below it, but it's nurtured and kept alive by the teams, where in Europe teams won't really have to do that because you're going to have the national ecosystem. So I think now Europe is fully ready to be maybe the most important region. I mean, it's always going to be really hard to beat China just because they have more players and more teams and a stronger ecosystem. But maybe in 2019, Europe can be as good as Korea. Let's see.
So not just competitively, but also like financially in terms of viewership and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and even like what used to be our weakness was we speak so many different languages, and now that we have local stuff, you have some Rioter in different countries, you have those league in different countries, you have those local ecosystem in different countries. Maybe we can turn this weakness into a strength, actually, by making sure we have those people in those countries educating people, creating new players, finding new players, which is once again something other regions do not have. And teams have to do the job on their own. Like if you take NA, if Liquids would like to scout new people, the best way for them to do is to make sure the academy can hire those people and they have scout working around. In Europe, you just have to check the French league or the German league or the Italian league or the Spanish league with their own ecosystem, own teams, own people. So our system technically should be better to recruit new guys. And at the end of the day, it's a sport. You want to win. You win with a better player, so you need to find and scout them.
So I've had this. So obviously, I agree in that regard that it's by nature an already more competitive system, and like people are growing up in a competitive system. Whereas academy is kind of like it's academy worlds. Okay, sure, but realistically, it's different. It's very different. But I've had this debate with Shocks, for example. So I think during the Worlds broadcast, at least 20% of the European broadcast was, I think, French, and then another 10% or 15% was Spanish. So, like, that's just a whole chunk of European fans watching the European perspective or the European teams in their respective languages rather than, the English version. Now, while I think that's on one hand amazing, I also wonder, could it be one of the difficult points given that, as a sponsor that is not, for example, Europe-wide, you like look at the European broadcast and that kind of stuff and you go like, well, I only want to advertise to French and Spanish crowds, or what if I am Europe-based, but a lot of the chunk of the European fans are taken away by, Spanish, French broadcast?
So this is actually a fascinating topic when it comes to sponsoring, because when you sell your English broadcast or your local broadcast, those are not the same reach, the same audience, and the way you split the money, for example, or the way you buy sponsoring is going to be different. So I don't remember how much I'm allowed to share or not, so we'll just not share any figures and stuff like that. But those are metrics we now know and study really closely to understand actually exactly if you're French, are you watching in English or in French? If you're German, are you watching in German or in English? And then it impacts how many people are watching the game. Once again, now that we understand and realize and acknowledge this fact, the way we tailor our sponsor offer is a bit different, and the relationship with our local broadcast partner, like for example in France with OGaming or in Spain with LVP, exactly, it helps a lot. They were in house a week ago, for example, and we talk about that. We find solution. We think about it, and it's a strength once again. I think it used to be a weakness because it splits our viewership, but now that we have a relationship with them, it can turn into a strength because they are full-time living in a specific country, educating our sponsors and finding for sponsors on their own and stuff like that. And of course, if you go to, I don't know, Coca-Cola and they have 16 millions to inject, they might not talk to the local broadcast guy, but they will have to start somewhere. So Coca-Cola France is going to talk to them, and maybe the local broadcast can bond them back to us, so we can talk about Europe stuff. Like this strong relationship with everyone is going to make us way stronger on the long run.
So that was also a focus to improve the relationship with the local broadcast as well.
I mean, we need them. They are part of this ecosystem. The same way we need a good relationship with our local leagues, and we need people to operate them and activate them. And this weakness, because we were disorganized, is turning into a strength because we start to be organized.
Okay, I can see that for sure. I mean, it's without a doubt a fact that someone like Ibai, I think he has like 450,000 followers on Twitter. The guy is a monster, fantastic caster. I don't speak a word of Spanish, and I still enjoy his podcast. So, no doubt that there's like some amazing strengths there. But as you said, it needs to be organized, and I'm happy to hear that that's something that's been focused on. One last, kind of bid farewell. Romain Vigère, again, a lot of stuff Unicorns of Love related comes up when you search for your name. What was the situation like when you found out that the team was not going to make it in that you've spent so much time with before?
So I've never lost contact with Jos and Chippy, and we were talking in July, August, and September. So I was aware of the outcome for them. I hope they're gonna get as much money as possible from that, and they will find the best way to bounce. There are stuff definitely to do in Europe, and I know Jos and Chippy are really clever guys, so they're gonna bounce back. But that's the end of an era, that's for sure. That's the final points for a lot of memories for me as well, and I loved it. Made me a bit sad. It's life next. Like, there's so much stuff happening in esport on every level that, once again, look where we were a year ago. Yeah. Look where we were 2 years ago. So, like, if I could go back in time, talk to myself a year ago and say, 2 years ago, look, you're going to go to the US, you're going to get back to Europe working for Riot, I would have laughed really hard. So if Romain is entering the room right now and telling me, look, bro, in 2 years, you're training people on the moon because Riot is launching a new game there with a spaceship, I would laugh really hard. Let's see where we are in 2 years, you know. like we have a beautiful industry and it's going full speed right now. We are on the first car in the train, first row. So let's get really fast and let's see where we end at the end of the day. It's a bit like that.
Let's enjoy that ride. I very much like that idea. Is there anything you want to say to the fans of the LEC and the people that have been following you over the years?
Thank you a lot and stay tuned because 2019 is going to be really, really exciting.
I think that's very beautiful. I wholeheartedly agree. I hope that comes true for sure. I'm very excited for the start of LEC as well. Of course, if you want to see more LEC coverage, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we'll be there every single day. Thank you very much for your time, Romain, and thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.